standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Morning and welcome to a somewhat cold and overcast sunrise safari. I don't think we're going to be getting a particularly spectacular sunrise. In fact, I think out here it's just going to get gradually lighter and, if my suspicions are correct, gradually cooler, because on this beautiful morning it's actually not too bad. It's one of the warmest mornings we've had since we've been out in winter. It's 14 degrees apparently, which is 58 in Fahrenheit, but it feels warmer, definitely feels warmer. But good morning to you. My name is Jamie, and this morning I have Bryan on camera with me. We're going to go and see what wonders we can find for you out here on Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains Game Reserves in the Sabi Sand in the Greater Kruger National Park area of South Africa. Not only are we coming to you live, which means you just never know what to expect, but we're also interactive, and you can send through your questions on hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And please do send them through and tell us where you're from. We always love to hear just how far our live safaris are reaching across the globe. Our plans for the morning are pretty much to take it as it comes, I think. Brent is heading across to Cheetah Plains with Wium, and Bryan and myself are going to be exploring Djuma and Arathusa. So to John, who sent through the update about the lions, we're going to be searching for them. John heard them calling on the Djuma Dam camera at around midnight last night. So we're going to be sending through, or we're going to be searching for those lions. I have a suspicion, we did hear them calling, I have a suspicion that they might be a bit further to the north. That being said, there is one very pregnant lioness that's been hanging around all on her own, and who knows if she's managed to drop her cubs yet or not. We know that there's a lioness on Torchwood with brand new cubs, and I hear stories, rumors, sort of word on the ground is that the Styx females with their cubs have been moving gradually in the direction of Cheetah Plains. So we're going to be keeping our fingers crossed there. And then I think if I don't have any success with the lions, I'm going to go wandering across to Arathusa. Because for those of you who missed that update, where did that little steelbook go? Oh, there you are. I see you. Playing hide and seek, but I see you. Oh, whoops, no I don't. And he's gone. There's a tiny little dwarf antelope. But as per standard Steenbok behavior, dashing off very quickly into the distance. But for those of you who missed the update yesterday on our fireside chat, apparently Shadow and her cub were sharing a kill with Tingana on Hoffman's, just south of our boundary. Now, depending on how big that kill was, I believe it was a warthog, depending on how big it was, there's a good chance they'll have finished that off at some point during the night. I think it's time, I really feel that it's time for us to go and see Shadow's cub for the first time. Hopefully they've decided to move onto our traverse area and not further away. Ooh, there's the chill. While we go look for these lions and see where they've wandered off, let's cross over to Brent so that he can say good morning.
Welcome to the Sunrise Safari on SafariLIVE. My name is Brent Smith. I have Wium, aka the wildebeest Dornbank, on camera with me. We're just doing a quick little skirt where we had that report of the female leopard heading north last night, just making sure she didn't cross into Djuma. Unfortunately, the last report I had from her over the radio is that she was going west, and oh, so far no tracks, but you never know. Let's double check that one there. Nope. So we're going to keep slowly heading east, and we're going to make our way down towards Cheetah Plains on the Sunrise Safari. And I'm hoping and we might get a glimpse of those Styx cubs. So I heard they were just west of the southern boundary, and there was a visual from the boundary on the road, but whether they are still there or not, only time will tell. But fingers crossed. I'd love to be able to bring you some lion cubs this morning. And it sounds like there are tracks of a female leopard on the Cheetah Plains boundary, so it could be it's a leopard that's fast becoming one of our favorites in Kanyanini, and hopefully she's got her cubs with her. Okay, so no tracks in that area where that female leopard was last night. Now also remember, there was the report of those 3 wild dogs charging through this area somewhere, so we'll look out for their tracks as well. But with dogs being about 12 hours behind, we'll be really lucky if we catch up with them, or we might just catch up with them somewhere else. Yeah, so we are about to go through a particularly bad signal area as we dip through the little river that's called the Mulwanini. So the bigger one we have behind us that runs through the heart of Djuma is called the Mulwati. Oh. And some happy looking kudus prancing around. It looked quite sprightly in the early morning. Yeah, nice little herd of kudu, females and young. Can't see any big males just yet. There's a little male. There we go. So I'm just listening to the Game Drive radio quickly here. And apparently there was a sight of the cheetah late last night on Cheetah Plains, heading towards Cheetah Plains, so that's exciting. So while we shoot off down there, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
We're on our way towards the Vuyatela Dam, because apparently it wasn't just that you guys heard a lion, but there was actually one crossing the dam wall last night, one lioness. And I'm sure that it is that lone lioness, and that update actually came from Morning Glory. Thank you very much. Now, I'm relatively certain in my own mind that it's that lioness that Bryan and myself came upon quite by surprise the other evening. And she was totally unexpected, lying up beautifully on a termite mound, just waiting for us to come past and see her. And I strongly suspect that she is thinking about denning somewhere in that drainage line. And we're going to look, but we're not going to go too deep in any way that might disturb her if indeed she does have cubs. If we've got tracks going into a very, very thick drainage line, then we're absolutely going to leave her be and let her sort out her youngsters. But it'll be nice to follow the tracks and just get a rough idea as to where she might be hiding them, if indeed she does have them. When we saw her the other night, she really did look pregnant. I was even contemplating whether or not she had suckle marks. My conclusion that it wasn't suckle marks, but that she was starting to lactate, which lionesses do just a couple of days before they give birth. I'm sure she's around here. The other thing I don't really want to do is go wandering into thick bushes, poking my nose where it doesn't belong, because there's nothing quite like the sound of a lioness when you have discovered her with her cubs. I've done it a couple of times in my life entirely by mistake, and there's a very interesting moment where the hairs on the back of your neck rise simultaneously as the bushes next to you start to go brrrr before she comes shooting out at high speed with stiff legs and tail back and tail thrashing. It's an interesting moment. I don't really want to go poking my nose where it doesn't belong. My friend Emma actually had that happen to her accidentally. She had to climb up a cliff to get away. I did mention that if we fail in our search, or if we get to the point where we see where she's disappeared and we're not going to follow up, then we will head back and see if we can't figure out what's happening with Shadow. Now, Melissa, I think that you've missed a couple of shows and you've missed the update. So you've said that you thought Shadow had 2 cubs. What has happened to the other cub? Now, it's very sad, Melissa. The truth is that we do not know. We don't know what happened to the other cub. It was probably, I mean, statistically, in that area, it could have been a young male leopard. It could have been a hyena. It could have been a lion. We just don't know, unfortunately. But we do know that she has lost a cub. A couple of Inyala and Impala over there. So, Melissa, we know that she's lost a cub about at the beginning of May sometime. Don't have an exact date, but we know it was around the beginning of May. And it's just one of those very unfortunate things. Her other cub, though, is alive and very well. There you go, some young male Inyala. Not quite at the point where they've got their adult colouring. This boy is the perfect in-between, between the colour of an Inyala lamb or Inyala female. There you go, the female's walking across perfectly, thank you, girl. But he is starting to get the dark coat and the much shaggier neck. This little male, crossing in front, has got a long way to go. They always look so gangly and a bit scruffy at that age. Stuck in between. And he's got another year or so before he looks to be fully grown, and another 2 or 3 before his horns reach the magnificent inwards curve that the adult males display. And Brent has got one of my absolute favorite birds. Let's go and have a look.
There we go, an African Harrier Hawk, sometimes known as a gymnogene, who is got not 1 but 5 fork-tailed drongos harassing him. There we go, look at that, mobbing him. Now, it's not uncommon for small bird species to mob predatory birds, especially if they have nests in the area. But even when they don't have nests, they just don't like predators, especially a predator like the African Harrier Hawk around. Now, they've got an incredible adaptation. They can almost dislocate, well, not almost, they can dislocate their legs to be able to get them into these little crevices and holes. And he's searching in that dead tree for birds' nests, lizards, and anything that might be hiding in a hole in the tree. Now, the drongos are less likely to attack him when he's stationary. As soon as he flies, they really hit him quite hard. Oh, as soon as he moves and the drongos feel that he's not paying attention, they will dive bomb him. And having been dive bombed by drongos before, they have quite sharp little beaks. There we go, watch this. Oh, see. He's just hopping to a different branch to see if he can find a crevice or hole. I think I'm just going to go forward maybe. Oh, no, we're good here for now. Just see what happens. Looks like, there we go. So, searching all the holes and crevices in this dead marula tree for a bit of an early morning snack. Oh, see that? As soon as his head's down, the drongos. Oh, and starlings now. So Mike in Florida is our resident birder, and he's on 237 different bird species seen on the live drives. And Mike's wondering, is anyone catching up? I'd love to know. So anyone who's got 200 or about 200 different bird species from the live drives, let us know. And you can do that by hashtagging SafariLIVE on Twitter or using the email questions@wildearth.tv. Look at that. See how it's probing every little crevice and hole. Oh, baby squirrels, even adult squirrels will fall into their prey range. And so far, this dead marula is not proving to be too fruitful for the African Harrier Hawk. Oh, there we go, that was close. Whoa. I love the resilience of these birds. Even under the face of being mobbed by a flock of starlings or a group of drongos, they just keep on carrying on hunting, ducking down. Oh, off he goes down. He's gone into that little thing of thickets. I'm going to try and move a little bit. Oh, Mike, someone is catching. Chris Rogue is on 234. I think I got a gap if I go forward. Oh no, he's flying. There we go. Back up. Here he is. Now, Roy is wondering what color this bird is. Is it blue or black? We'll say it's gray, a sort of bluish gray color. And then you can see that yellow skin on its face. Now, during the breeding season, that yellow will actually turn quite red on the legs and on the face. Inspecting this dead marula, every little nook and cranny. You can hear another bird that's upset with their presence. And that toot, 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 is a grey-headed bushshrike somewhere in one of those trees. And you can't say this African Harrier Hawk isn't thorough. Well, oh, look at that, nearly dive bombed. So every now and then people actually wonder whether we're really live. And Marcel in Alberta, Canada is wondering. Well, here's your answer, Marcel. Welcome on SafariLIVE. And we're called SafariLIVE because we are truly live. So you can also, as you notice, ask us questions. So Marcel, welcome to the SafariLIVE family. And oh, has he found something finally? Look how it tilts its head and uses its eye to look into those crevices. Oh, there's a big hole there. No breakfast for the Harrier Hawk so far. And you can see how the birds keep a very close eye on him. So George Ann in Illinois is also catching up on the bird list. She's got 200 only from the drives, none from any of the dam cams. So well done, George Ann. That's really impressive. Hopefully we can add some species today. I wonder if this Harrier Hawk's going to decide that it's done now. Oh, look at that. So there's a couple of different species of birds that are harassing that Harrier Hawk. There's fork-tailed drongo, like the one that just disappeared there, and some, looks like lesser blue-eared starlings. And Carl's wondering, are drongos related to, here we go, there's drongo on the left, starlings on the right, oh, in the center, and another drongo on the right. And Carl's wondering, are they related to crows? Oh, there's a nice hole. And no, they're not. They're actually a type of flycatcher, Carl. There you go. I think he's almost inspected the whole tree. Jade in Toronto is wondering how a Harrier Hawk got its name. Well, Jade, it's because it looks very much similar to a harrier. Now, a harrier is another predatory bird that generally... Oh, there he goes. He's checked that whole tree. He's going to move on. And look at the birds attacking him. Let's go forward a bit. Sorry, Jade, I haven't forgotten. There we go. Look at that. Look, there's an oriole behind there as well. Oh, off he goes. Right, there you go. Off the harrier goes. Drongos in tail attacking. So, there you go. So, Jade, they look similar to harriers, which are hovering birds that you generally find over grasslands and marshes, but they also look similar to hawks, so they're like a cross between the two. That's where they get their name from. And say morning to Peter. Morning, morning, morning. Kutang yourself. Whoa, so you're a pakslag here. Morning, everyone.
Are we on TV?
No, I'm afraid not. Peter is though.
Hello.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
No updates from our side, anything crossing. Oh no, except Birmingham crossed Gary Main, but into Hoffman's, I think.
Okay. Well, there was one Birmingham now with the sticks on at Nyaribamba, so
Okay.
I'm gonna go back there.
Good luck.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Cheers, guys. Okay, let's go see what we can find. So we've got to go through a little dip where there's a bit of bad signal, so let's go see what Jamie's up to.
We've got some interesting news here, and thank you for the update from Morning Glory, because the other night we came through and the lioness was, concentrating on tracks at the same time, but the lioness was on a termite mound right here. Now, Morning Glory tells me that the lioness walked across the dam wall to the north and then to the east, possibly in a drainage line. Now, the tracks that I've got are on the northern side of the dam, but going the other way around. I haven't got her tracks coming back, but that doesn't mean that they're not here. And I strongly suspect that if she did go north across the drainage line and then east, that she's hiding her cubs somewhere in this vicinity. The fact that she's come back here, her tracks all coming straight, yeah, her tracks have come straight back this way. So I'm reverse tracking at the moment. She was on this termite mound here when Bryan and myself last saw her. It's not impossible that she's denning in the termite mound itself, but it's unlikely. I suspect that she is just a little bit to the east of it in the Mulwati drainage, if indeed she is denning, but it makes sense. For a couple of days in a row, tracks coming backwards and forwards to water and then back towards her standard area. Lionesses don't stay in the same place unless they either have a kill or they have babies with them. And I suspect that might be the case. Let's go down into this drainage line. Her tracks come in from here, and I'll show you where I think she might be keeping them. And a warm welcome to Karen in Florida. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari. You were wondering if all lions have the same pregnancy of 9 months, or is it different? And the answer is it is different. And Karen, I will explain the whole process to you in 1 second. I'm just going to come down really carefully in here and just double check the tracks. Okay. She's gone into the drainage line. She's in one of two places. She's either just in the spike thorn thicket. Ooh. And I can tell you something for nothing, having walked through there before, I don't know that I'm going to be reverse tracking her in there. And if she is in there somewhere, where the visibility is about 3 feet in front of your nose, that is where she shall stay with her cubs. There's one very brave Dacre making his way in that direction. Fair enough. Or the alternative is that she is on the southern side of this concrete crossing, perhaps somewhere just off to the right of me. The lionesses, in my experience, where I've found den sites before, love spike thorn thickets and love drainage lines with crevices where they can hide them. No, I think our lioness is lying up somewhere in here, I suspect with cubs. Obviously, I don't know 100%. Let's carry on a little bit further just to see if her tracks maybe pop out, and perhaps she's just the lioness from Torchwood walking along Central. Let's double check that just to be sure. And while we do, Karen, a lioness's gestation period is, depending on the lioness and the circumstances, usually around between 90 and 100 days is the standard gestation. So just over 3 months before they give birth. I'm going to do this really slowly just in case she is here somewhere. Don't want to drive past her. So a lioness, just over 3 months. It will differ, just as it does for humans, between individuals and between individual pregnancies. It will never be an exact standard that they all fall into, but there is an average for this area, and that's around just over 3 months. Wouldn't be exactly right. We know that at least 2 of the Nkumas have been pregnant. One of them's given birth recently. The other, I strongly suspect, is hiding up somewhere in here. Oof. And it's not going to be very easy to find her in here. The bushes are exceptionally thick, and she hasn't come back out onto the road. So from reverse tracking, I'm going to say that she is in that drainage line, and I think she's in the drainage line to the south. I suspect that's where she is. And she maybe went out for a drink, maybe went out to see if there's any food, called to the rest of her pride, and then back to the cubs that I think that she has. So for the next 6 weeks, those little cubs will be tucked away safely, away from the rest of the pride, away from big rough males that, even though they wouldn't intend to hurt them, could actually do so. And that's basically, that's exactly why lions keep their cubs secret. First of all, they're too young, so they're born very slow, very weak, not really able to keep up with the rest of the group. And then also with the lion pride, the lionesses time their oestresses so that they have cubs at a similar time. And what that usually means is within a lion pride, there is an older set of cubs at the same time. So if a lioness has her cubs and brings them back to the pride too early, those older cubs, often just purely out of playfulness, can actually do serious damage to their younger cousins, just through trying to play, and they've got that instinct to bite and to scratch and to bat them around. And at that point, the lion cubs are not resilient enough to handle that, and they will try and, so the lionesses will try and keep them secret and safe for the first 6 weeks of their lives. After that, then they're capable of keeping up with the rest of them and are capable of playing boisterously with their cousins. And they have to learn that very quickly, because a lion pride is not a gentle place to be. And for the cubs in particular, once they're weaned at around 3 months of age, they will have to fight for access to the carcass. And they basically get bullied out of it. And if any cub is hungry enough that oversteps its mark, it is going to get a serious hiding. Lions are very resilient, but they're not very gentle with each other at all. Just triple check down here. However, I don't think that we're mistaken as to where this lioness is hiding. I think she came up the other day onto that termite mound for warmth. Janet, you've said yes, she went towards Twin Dams Road, which makes sense, into that drainage line. We're going to double check, so I've done a full loop of the area. I just want to see if I can't find her tracks coming back, because that's the one thing that we've been missing. So into the drainage line that runs through Twin Dams. It sounds right, and I've walked in there before. There are so many times, there are so many perfect places to hide little cubs. That would be my suspicion. And Chitra, you were asking about the lioness's cubs being in hiding. Well, there you go. As we discussed, 6 weeks is usually the average. She might bring them out a little bit earlier. She might keep them secret a little bit later. But that's the general average, that she'll keep them hidden away and safe from the attentions of the pride. And it's astounding how fast a lion cub grows. They get big so quickly. I'm really looking forward to being able to share the growth of these cubs with the rest of you. Now, she has been secreting herself away, not secreting. Linda, you were wondering whether or not lionesses can ever die from labor. It's more unusual than it is with hyenas. So hyenas, with their bizarre genital structure, with that fused urinary and genital tract, for a lot of the first-time hyena mums, the mortality is exceptionally high for the cubs and relatively high for the mothers themselves. Very often the cubs will get stuck in the passage and they don't make it. Lionesses less so. It depends on their age. Obviously the risk is the highest with the first-time mother or with a very old lioness, but in general it's a relatively rare occurrence. It can happen, but it's very rare. Their cubs are born exceptionally tiny. So it's the denning behavior, that altricial birth, so the sort of the underdeveloped birth. They are little bundles of fuzz. They are terribly cute. Mr. Hendry says he thinks that they are... Oh, it's just a dove, never mind. Thought I heard alarm calls, but it is just a dove. Sorry, not just a dove. Doves are special too. But it wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was an Inyala barking. Not quite sure how I managed to confuse the two of those in my head. We're going to do a loop that's going to take us through some relatively bad signal patches. So while we do that and while we look for this lovely lioness, let's go to Brent on Cheetah Plains.
There's been a lot of elephant activity overnight, and and some trees across the road. But it all looks quite early last night, so what we're hoping to find is tracks of the predators atop of the elephant tracks that are literally throughout this area at the moment. And Andrew's already checking out to the east in those open areas, so we're going to check a little bit further to the south, and that way we're both covering different areas, giving us a much better chance at finding animals. So we're up on the Combretum crests here, and completely surrounded by, the majority of the trees are red bush willow, which is the most common tree species in the Sabi Sands. There are the odd big marula, the odd terminalia, the odd cassia. Now, at this time of year, these areas are only really utilized from the bigger species extensively by elephant and by buffalo. Now, not to say you can't find kudu and impala and other animals here, but the most common animals in this area are going to be your steenbok and duiker. And that's always a good place to look for female leopards, as they really do favor those little antelope. But it's going to be incredible. You can see how the bush is completely changing. You see the yellows and oranges coming out on these bush willows at the moment, and it makes for some excellent photographic opportunity, especially when you've got leopards with these incredible colors around. Now, as always good to just stop the engine for a little bit, have a little listen, as your ears are probably more important than your eyes when it comes to finding animals. It is quite a grey morning. A cold front that's coming off the Indian Ocean is still about. So strangely enough, when we start out in the early morning, when these clouds are here, it's actually warmer. And the reason for that is that the cloud forms an insulative blanket around the earth, and the warm air rising from the soil gets stuck. So quite often you start your mornings much warmer than you end your mornings, and it gets colder as the day progresses. Now, Kitchen in Texas is wondering, are these clouds going to produce any rain? Oh, I don't think so. And if they do, it's going to be such a minuscule amount. Maybe a few spots. Always a interesting area to check. We don't check the south as often as we check other areas. It's always good to spread yourselves a bit. Kyle's hoping we find the most beautiful leopard in Kanyeni. So, Kyle, careful. There's some other people who might disagree with you, but I agree with you. I think she's our most beautiful female at the moment.
What about Salehesh?
Salehesh? I don't know. I haven't seen Salehesh on the live drives. I have seen her when I've been visiting friends in the west, but I'm not so sure. She's very big and she is very beautiful. I think Kanyeni's got that sort of, she's more of a lady, she's more dainty. Now, the other reason I'm checking this particular road, this is a favorite road for those two male cheetah to use to move north and south. Just making sure there are no tracks around here. And if any of you have just stumbled upon us, we are SafariLIVE. and we are live in the African bush. And not only are we live, you can ask us questions about the African bush, and you can do that by sending me an email at questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. And speaking of leopards, Chris Rogue says she's just waiting for that call. We found a leopard with a collar. Now, for you who don't know who the leopard with a collar is, his name is Sindile. She is Shadow, who's the dominant female leopard over Arethusa. His last cub, she does have a little cub at the moment, and he had a bit of an unfortunate time last year. He bit a dog that tested positive for rabies and had to go into quarantine, but he has since then been re-released into the Sabi Sands, and at the moment he is unfortunately quite far from us. He's down on the Sand River, and in the last update I heard he was down on the Sand River to the southwest of us. Southwest. So, out in the African bush, it is quite a tough place, and a very tough place to bring up babies. And there's quite a high mortality rate for predators' babies. And Gail in Chicago is wondering what's the difference in the mortality rates between lion and leopard. And, well, Gail, it's very similar. It's between 70 and 75% for both. And there's lots of different threats to them. There's hyenas, there's buffalo even. But the biggest threat to both sets of cubs is other male lions or leopards that are nomadic, or even during pride takeovers, new males coming in, or during territory switches with leopards. Oh, that's new. There's water again at 3 in a row pan. This is quite exciting. Oops. It seems like I'm a bit slower than everyone else, and they knew there was water here. But this is going to attract a whole plethora of animals to the Cheetah Plains area. And we've got 2 bodies of water that we can see animals. And as we head deeper and deeper into the drought, these little patches of water are going to become really important. What did you see?
Big rock you drove over.
Oh, I drove over a big rock, yes. Sorry, Vim, I was so excited about the water. And you can see it's called 3 in a row pan because there's 1 pan there. Here's the second. That one hasn't filled up just yet. And then the overflow from the second has created a third. And these are pumped pans. So they are pumped by people. Although there would have been natural pans in this area, although they wouldn't have held water this long into the dry season. So we're going to now head off to those open areas to the east of us, and while we do that, let's go see how Jamie's hunt for the Nkuma lioness is going.
For those of you who are multitasking and watching the Vuyatela Dam camera at the same time as you are watching our show, you might be seeing us do another circuit back to where we started from, and that's because I just wanted to double check that my guesses are correct and that she is hiding up somewhere in this drainage line. So I've done a full circuit. I've reverse tracked her to where she went into the drainage line, and actually where she came out of the drainage line and then has gone back into the drainage line. And I just wanted to make sure that she didn't pop out somewhere. Maybe she just wanted a drink and she was off back somewhere else. But her tracks have not come out of the drainage line. I've just double-checked Twin Dams Road, It makes me relatively certain that she is in here somewhere. We've basically narrowed down her denning site to the space between Gari Cut Line, where it joins up with Central, so at that bridge where we stopped and had a look, and into the drainage line around the dam. So she's in here somewhere with her, probably with her babies, which is really exciting news. We were really hoping that one of the lionesses, one of the Nkumas, might decide to den her cubs on Djuma. And I think that we have got our wish. I'm going to do one last thing, and that is to drive onto the dam wall now that the guests have left camp, and go and investigate if we can't see her from there. It would be very lucky. And Kyle, yes, this, as far as we know, this would be, oh, bumpy, this would be the second lioness that has had cubs. The one denned on Torchwood about, when was it? Must have been about 2 weeks ago now. And she is the second to drop her cubs. And you'll probably find that the rest of the pride, because even the sub-adult, who I think has now earned the right to be called an adult, even she has been seen mating. She'll probably be the last of the Nkuhumas to give birth. And usually with lionesses, their first couple of estrus cycles, they fail to conceive. Whether or not they're false estruses is a different story, but they usually don't conceive around that time. So she'll be the last of the Nkuhumas to give birth. Right. Come on, girl. And a serious shout out to our Zoomy while we stop here. I'm going to grab my binoculars and I'm going to investigate, but a shout out to the Zoomy, who's doing a fantastic job. Oh no, that's devastating. My binoculars broke. Oh, that's so sad. Oh no, okay, well we'll try and use them anyway. Oh. Brent-style binoculars. Oh, they won't even go back on. All right. Well, in theory, I'm going to use my binoculars with my left eye to just double-check. But thank you to the Zoomy who's helping us out. Keep watching the Djuma Dam camera, guys, at all times of the day. Because if that lioness is here, this is the only water source that she's got that's close to... Ooh, that gave me a headache. It's like trying on somebody else's glasses. Ooh. Nope, that's not going to work. I'll have to fix those later. Aw, my dad gave me those when I started this job. That's very sad. See if I can fix them. No sign of her here. It was a long shot. I'll give it that. It was definitely a long shot. Okay, well, we're going to, once my left eye has recovered from its ache, we're going to leave this drainage line search. I'm not going to go walking, especially this time of the morning, on a cold, cloudy morning, when it's harder to hear and see things in the bush. I'm not going to go poking my nose in. We'll move on. We'll head to Arathusa. I'll double check the Gallego pan just in case she's around there. They like those drainage lines too. I doubt it though. I think that they are. I think she's in here. There's a beautiful, I don't know if Bushwalk has ever made it in there, but there's a beautiful set of a confluence of the different river systems. James Richards, you were wondering of all of the cats, on a slightly sadder side, of all of the cats of the area, which ones might have the highest risk of stillbirths? I have absolutely no idea. I'm really sorry. I don't know. I really don't. Trying to think if there's a way that we can work this one out. I mean, obviously the younger the animal and the older the animal, again, same as the risk of dying in labor, the same applies to them. At the moment, most of them are going to be successful. What would have the highest risk? No, I couldn't tell you. It would be a pure guess, I don't think that I can work it out as to what it might be. I mean, of all of the predators, as we discussed before, of all of the predators, the highest risk is with the hyenas because of their bizarre reproductive strategy. Totally unique. But for the big cats, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know if there's any papers that have been published on that in terms of the birth success rate of the big cats. Cheetah tends to give birth to more cubs than lions or leopards, and that's one of the reasons behind that is because the cub mortality is so incredibly high. It's not uncommon to see a female cheetah with 4 or 5 cubs. And same goes for lions. Leopards, it's limited to, on average, 2, sometimes 3, but they don't have the advantage of the sort of the communal raising system that the lions do. Okay, I think let's move on towards the Galago pan. Well, bump our way up here. Come on, Wendy, you can do it. I have an update for you on poor Jigger. Jigger has been completely stripped of her parts. Jigger is now sitting like a little shell of a car, and the parts from Jigger have been transferred mainly into Wendy, but also some of them have been transferred onto Rusty. So Jigger is down for the count for now. Jigger needs a new engine. Oh, bumping along. Now, on the subject of cats and their birthing strategies, Chitra, you were wondering whether lionesses will remain fertile for their entire lives, so right up until the end. The answer is they definitely start to slow down. The oldest lioness I knew that had cubs was 14. You'll probably find that extends slightly if they are lionesses in captivity, but already 14 is quite far past the average life expectancy of a lioness as it is. Now, that was an exception rather than the rule, and they will start to slow down in the final years of their life up until the point that they are no longer fertile. Just like any other mammal species, lionesses, same as humans, have a limited number of eggs that they can produce. So just like human beings going through menopause, the difference is that for most wild animals, reaching that life expectancy in a harsh environment like this is more unusual. So they very often fall victim to, whether it's through injury or attack by other lions, they've slowed down a bit, they're not as strong as they used to be. The TB that a lot of them carry has started to impact on their health. So a lot of them don't make it to the point that they hit their natural menopause. Sorry guys, we're just going past the lodge here, and they appear to be doing some serious work on the decks. Now that's the noise that you might be able to hear. There we go, the gentleman in the blue. Hello! Synchronized waving to us. We're not going to zoom right in on them because none of them have agreed to be on camera. Wouldn't be very fair, so we'll leave them to their repair work of the lodge. They've got to get that done during game drive time because the guests don't want that noise whilst they're relaxing in the lodge. So she hasn't come this way either. So I think we can pretty much confirm she's there. Now Brenda, you said, well, we've got the lions and the leopards in terms of new babies. Do we have new hyena babies? And do we have new wild dogs? Now many of you might have seen let's start with wild dogs. Many of you might have seen the post that was put up by Ngala. Now, Ngala's very far away from us. It's not a wild dog pack that we see, but they have given birth. And most of the wild dog packs, the females are either heavily pregnant or they have started to den. And that will apply to our Investic and our Sabi Sands pack as well. As to where they are denning, we are in constant contact with the necessary people who monitor the wild dogs. So as soon as we know, There was a suspicion that the Investec pack might decide to den in Kruger, and there was a suspicion that the Sands pack might den in Manuleti. Now, we don't know for certain yet. I will double check exactly whether or not we've got any further info on that, and we will let you know. The difficulty, of course, unfortunately, is that it doesn't seem as though at this point, this year, that the wild dogs have decided to den on our Traverse area, which is sad, but we will be seeing pups in the future. Now, there's a very, very concerted effort at the moment. Some of you might have seen the stuff on Facebook being shared. The guys are really closely monitoring the wild dog packs at the moment, trying to make sure that what happened to that devastating loss of the Lower Sabi pack does not spread to the rest of the packs in the Kruger National Park. So every time we see wild dogs, we send that information straight on to the WWF, who have a specific wild dog project that they run. And we're monitoring the wild dogs exceptionally closely. Hyenas. Now, hyenas are a bit more of embarrassment, aren't they? Do we have new hyena cubs? Maybe. Have we found them yet? No. Unfortunately not. They have definitely moved from the Aubrey's Road den. We have a sinking feeling that they might have gone on to Simbambili. So how many times recently have we been driving along Triple M and all of a sudden a hyena comes racing past and disappeared off? It happened yesterday morning while we were searching for that lion. I think, unfortunately, they might have moved there. But do not despair, because that might just be our hyena cubs that we've been watching over the last few months. You can imagine how miserable I am about that situation. But some of the other females in the clan will be due to start mating and maybe give birth relatively soon. Perhaps the mothers of, we know Bella's mom's already given birth, so she's out, but maybe the mother of the February twins. She's been through a bit of a difficult time. February twins last year. She's been through a bit of a difficult time. She was the hyena that was identified as having been quite badly beaten up by some of the others. So she might be due to have cubs soon, as well as June's mother, June from last year. And what they might do is the lower ranking females might den separately to Madam, Corky and Pretty. But do not despair. We haven't lost them for good. We just don't really know where they are right now. We are trying our best. The best way for us at the moment is to keep looking out for hyena tracks up, down, up, down, up, down the same road, and that will give us a really good place to start. And we will be working hard on relocating them. Unfortunately, just have a funny feeling that they are in Simbambili. On our way to Arathusa to find out what's happening there. In the meantime, let's see how the great open plains of Cheetah Plains are looking.
So, bit of bad news. Tracks of those cheetah have gone into the Kruger National Park. So we're going to go head down towards the big southern open area, see what we can find there. So I wonder how Gnormus Gnorman the Gnew's doing. So Gnormus Gnorman is the dominant male wildebeest on this area. So there we go. So often we see ostriches here. We see all sorts that we don't see too much else of everywhere. So let's have a look. Now, this is the area the cheetah like, but it looks like they moved straight through it. Oh, some lesser black-winged lapwings. Look at that. So that's the least, well, not the most uncommon, but not one you see very often. They travel vast distances looking for short distances. I mean, short grasses, not distances. They travel long distances looking for short grass areas and also burnt areas, and they prefer to feed in those areas, and they move around in little flocks. So they're not as static as the crowned lapwing, which is the one we see more often. There we go. Funny looking little things. So I think this was one of the birds we compared Commander Bond or James Henry to. Very similar walking style. And let's move through. I don't even see Gnormus this morning. Maybe he's got some lady friends somewhere. Ah, there he is. He's off in the distance with some lady friends by the looks of things. I'm going to just get up a little bit and stop so we can have a look. And what do you think about? There we go. So he's down towards the southern side of the clearing. There are more than one, so he does have some lady friends. They're probably coming towards the end of the wildebeest rut at the moment. So, like impala and warthog, they have a set breeding season. I just want to go up ahead. I hear some lapwings alarm calling, and they're not at us. On the other side of this little section of bush, it could be jackal, it could be lion, it could be leopard, you never know. Just trying to have a look here. This is where those alarm calls were coming through from this section over here. And let's just go up onto the high ground. We can have a good look over quite an extended section. Let's try to figure. There could be alarm calling at a bird of prey even. I'm just going to try to listen and see where they are. If they're still alarm calling. Of course, they are completely silent now. We can hear some starlings. So, not sure what they're alarming at. They could just have been making a bit of noise. But it looks like the plains are a bit quiet this morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head west along the southern boundary. Now there's a very small chance, and I do say a very small chance, that we might get a long distance visual of some lion cubs that are to the west of our southwestern corner on Cheetah Plains. So we're going to slowly make our way there. Keep checking for everything else, of course. I always have to stay like that little extra second. Look under one last bush before I leave. So Tintin is wondering, how many miles do the game reserves encompass? So let me just work out. I'll do it in acres is probably the easiest. So more or less 1,000, 2,200, and 1,000. So about at the moment our traverse is around 5,000 acres, and I'm not sure what that is in square miles. But the Sabi Sands Game Reserve as a total is about 120,000 acres. We have access to 5,000 of it. And we are in that unfenced area that forms part of the Greater Kruger National Park and the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. So the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park is about 13 million acres of unfenced wilderness encompassing 3 countries. So absolutely incredible. And the animals obviously have no idea of man-made boundaries, so they meander where they please. So this southwestern area is not an area we check very often. There are some spots where there's some deep drainage lines or little river systems that sometimes give us a little bit of signal breakup. And I think the chance at the lion cubs is worth a little risk. Where have you got him? Oh no, well spotted, Vuyatela. That is not a harrier hawk. That is a dark chanting goshawk. Oh, see, 2 nice predatory birds with 2 very different hunting strategies. We watched that harrier hawk absolutely comb every square inch of a dead marula. But now the dark chanting goshawk, he'll perch and watch and wait for something to move, and then he'll plummet down from high and try hit whatever the prey species is with a bit of force from the above. And then we have seen them dancing with snakes before, trying to kill a snake. And he's all puffed up from the chilly morning. So the other bird we can get confused with this one is much smaller. It's called the Gabar goshawk. Now, if you look at these guys, they're normally about double the size of a Gabar goshawk. Let's have a look. Let's go goshawks. Okay, so there we go. It's pale. There we go. That's the dark chanting goshawk. It's quite grey this morning, so those little lines, and he's very puffed up, are a bit difficult to see. And the one you get confused. Oh, let's go. I think it's the other way. No. Where is he now? Gabar. Aha. You can see very similar looking, but very small. And when they fly, there's a very distinct white rump that gives them away. And underparts are a little bit lighter as well. And they both have red faces and red feet. But the size is the big difference. So, I mean, if we look here, a Gabar goshawk is 32 centimeters long, and a dark chanting goshawk is 45. So, I mean, quite an obvious big difference in size, and also tends to perch more prominently like that. So a Gabar goshawk's likely to be a little bit lower in the tree, hiding a bit more, and hunts more birds than sort of ground-dwelling animals than the dark chanting goshawk. Well, congratulations to Jen B, who's got 2 new bird species in a row for her bird list today. So we're going to continue to head on to the west. Well spotted there by Wium. All these large game parks coming in and out, always worth having a squiz. See if there are any tracks coming from the south end. Oh, I hear some parrots. Eating the cassia right here. Look at that. So it's opening those big long-tailed cassia seeds and eating them. This is a brown-headed parrot. Oh, there we go. Look at that. So we hear them often. It's not often we get such wonderful visuals of them. Now let's see if he goes into that massive seed pod and opens it up. Look how he's using that hooked beak and those zygodactyl feet. So being able to clamber around with 2 toes facing forward and 2 back, which is a special adaptation to parrots and certain other fruit-eating bird species. Look at that. There we go. Looks like a bit self-conscious all of a sudden. No. Using that powerful hooked beak. There we go, look at that. It's got a nice fresh cassia seed. Now it'll eat the flesh around it and then drop the actual hard seed. Now other animals will also eat these seeds, civets, and of course other bird species, but quite often they'll need another bird like the parrot to be able to open it because their beaks aren't completely adapted for opening fruits. So enjoy the way how he squawks in between his meal. And you can see how incredibly dexterous parrots can be with their feet. I mean, isn't that incredible? You can even hear it breaking up that cassia pod. We've had some really wonderful bird sightings this morning so far. So incredible. We don't often, as I said, get great visuals of this particular species. I think this is definitely one of the best sightings I've had of brown-headed parrot in the last year and a bit. You can hear it breaking that seed pod. So we're going to find these parrots moving quite big distances now that we're in the dry season coupled with the drought. And that's going to be because the food sources are going to be few and far between. Well, let's leave this parrot to continue its breakfast and see what else we can find in it. A little chirp for a farewell. So while we continue our search for lions, Jamie has got an incredible surprise for you.
We have an incredible surprise for you indeed, and it's an incredible surprise that we have the wonderful Herbert to thank. Look who's here, the Queen of Djuma herself, lying up right next to the road, looking as peaceful as can be because she's managed to kill an impala. They're nice and full-bellied. She hasn't eaten terribly much of it just yet, from what I can see. And who knows, the reason I'm going to speak really, really softly is because we don't know yet whether or not the cubs are here. So we're just going to wait and see if she decides to call them out. Yes, you clever girl. And I think this is a very recent kill. I think that she's only just managed this. She's dragged it underneath a protected tree, one of the bush willow species. It's just, you can just catch the red glimpse of fur there. She might have just killed it, and she might be thinking about still going to fetch her cubs and bring them back, or they might be hiding out here somewhere. She's given herself a good clean. Always a little bit more fastidious than lions, leopards. We just have to wait and see. It's been so long since I've seen Karula. I'm really, really hoping. What do you think, Bryan? We're going to hope for these cubs to come out and say hello.
Me too.
Yeah, come and practice their climbing skills in the trees around us. Either way, it's an absolute pleasure to see this leopard. And just by the way, we've been having a conversation, Herbert and myself and the other guides. Tracking that lioness is no longer allowed, so none of us will be following her on foot. It is a negative lock. In other words, we cannot respond to a sighting there and we cannot track her in there. Just the same that we did with Karula when her cubs were young. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to establish that den site first. Just know exactly where it is. So she's no longer panting, so it's not a fresh kill. Herbert got hold of me straight away. He's on a roll. Lion yesterday, leopard today. It's fantastic having an additional tracker out to find us things. What you seeing, girl? Herbert's saying, Nancy's saying that Herbert is now her hero. I hear you, Nancy, I hear you. He's done exceptionally well, and he is such a pleasant man to be around. He's just so sweet. Oh, is she going to call them? Oops, poked herself in the nose there with a branch. It was a bit of a sneeze, not a contact call, but I think she's going to call. Yeah, she's calling. Andrew, come slow. I think she's calling bunt ones. She's just nibbling away, getting rid of all of the ticks and sort of absent-mindedly contact calling. Andrew, when you come through, I think come to the north of this fallen terminalia and then approach that way. You can approach. Oh no, stand by, sorry. It's Tax's call. He says 2 is fine. Okay guys, so the discussion that we've had and it is the call of the head guide of an area, is that at 4 months of age and in an appropriate situation, appropriate setting, which this is because we can view her without going off-road, it's now allowed that we have 2 vehicles, provided both of us are exceptionally respectful of the situation with her cubs. So Andrew is here, he is in the sighting, but I've just asked him to sit a little way and just turn off his engine so that she can call the cubs and get them to come towards her. So it's going to be very, very carefully handled. They are 4 months, they are capable of climbing trees. There we go, she's calling. Oh, this is so exciting. Come on, little things. Where are they? Let's keep our eyes peeled. I can't wait to see how much they've grown. They're definitely here somewhere. Oh, she's going to go have a bit of a munch. It's amazing how... Oh, look at that. She's covering it. It's very interesting. Gentle, almost a chuffing sound. Interesting approach. I wonder if if she's pulled out the stomach contents there. She's covering them up to hide the smell of the kill. She's still calling. Every now and again, I think she's going to go and look for her cubs. Clever girl. I wonder if this is the technique or one of the factors that's actually allowed her to be such a successful mom. Covering up the kill, helping to muffle, at least, or dull down the smell of it. Lions do that with the stomach contents all the time. And I think instinct telling her now to go and find her babies. The question is, are they here or not? I don't think she would be calling if they weren't, but I don't think she knows exactly where they are. She knows they're somewhere to the south of her. She wants to go and find them. Andrew's just repositioning. We're going to stay with our engine turned off while he does so. Always going to stay exactly where we are. Now, I don't think, as she walks off, I don't think we need to follow her into the bush. I think we know that she's going to come back with the cubs. And we're not going to follow her off-road. We're just going to wait for her to return to us with them. But where are they? Are they in this block, or has she left them further to the south, around Gowrie, Maine? Judging by her behavior, they should be somewhere here. But she probably left them lying up when she spotted the impala. I don't think she's going to be gone for too long. Let's just go forward a little bit so that we can see where she's going and how far she's going. It's not the best view. I just want to see where she's going to go. But the decision, I think, is made not to follow her because she's just gone to call them. She'll come back now. We're so incredibly fortunate to be able to watch. We've basically followed these cubs from their moment of birth, where Brent found them just a couple of hours old, up until now, and you get to watch the technique that Karula employs. She does have a very high success rate in terms of being a single mom, all on her own. She knows what she's doing. At 12 years old, she's got plenty of experience. Your babies, girl, did you forget where you put them? I'm sure I left them somewhere here. Was it that bush or was it that bush? It's an interesting and very subtle approach that she has, and that's why she's got up to move further into the block. Because Justin, you were wondering how far away her call can be heard. Not very far. One of those really clever things. So she doesn't want to draw attention to herself, she doesn't want to draw attention to her cubs, and most importantly, she doesn't want to draw attention to that kill. So the contact call with leopards is much, much softer than a lion's, and a lion's is not exactly deafening. Go away, flies. A lion's, that sort of meow sound, carries a bit further, but those contact calls that she was giving there, I'm not even sure that you guys could hear them where you are. It was almost like a sneeze. It was a sort of very, very soft sound. I'm just trying to see. She's stopped completely. She's waiting for them now. So Justin, we're talking probably at most 100 meters into the bush that contact call will cover. Very, very subtle. Okay, we've just got to sit and wait. I'm not going in there. The cubs will come to us, and she will take them straight back towards the kill. The only thing I'm going to do, I think, is to reposition so that we can have a good view of them when they do come back. Oh, I think I saw movement. But not in the direction she's looking. So she's looking off to the west of us. I know it's difficult for you guys to see. Can't describe this feeling of anticipation, but I don't think that I need to. I think most of you feel it as well, understand it. Bryan and myself found ourselves in a very similar position not too long ago when we first had a proper view of these cubs, and actually not far from here, when they were just over 2 months old. Like an irritated mother when her children won't answer her calls. Karula just waiting. She's announced that dinner's ready, and her kids have just ignored her. Now she's got to go and fetch them. Terribly irksome. I don't think she knows where they are exactly. I think she knows roughly, but she doesn't know exactly. Making sure she's not contact calling one more time. I don't think she is. she's going to go walk a little bit further into the bush and see if she can't bring them back. Let's reposition, I think. We know what line she's going to walk back here. Okay, she's lying down now. She's waiting for them to come to her. I'm still reticent to go in there because I know that they're going to come through this way. Let's just stop for one moment. I do need to get onto the Game Drive channel, or at least listen to the Game Drive channel, because as you can imagine, the sighting is in demand. There will be other people that need to come. Just got to hope that the cubs decide to come out. This is an even worse view. My apologies. I'm just listening to the Game Drive channel, guys. Luckily, we don't have to leave just yet because there is a lion sighting that has currently got the other vehicles distracted. There they come. There they come. Straight ahead. Oh yes, here we go. It's coming, Bryan, a little bit. If we go where this curved branch is in front of us, it's in the raisin bushes behind it. So right at the back there, we'll be able, you'll see movement in a moment. It's coming through. Hello, gorgeous. I know you guys can't see just yet. You can see the spots moving. Here it comes. Oh, hello, little one. It's going to come through. Let's reposition now. While we, here they come. The one's already ahead, going straight towards Mom. Trot, 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 trot. And it's going to come there. All right, guys, I know you can't see at the moment. I'm just waiting for the second cub to move through, and then we're going to reposition to see them. So there you can just see the movement at the back. All right. Yay! So exciting. Okay, we know where they are. Just gauging their reaction, letting my engine run for a bit. Let's find a good view for you. Okay, we're going to stop here. Let them just get used to the idea that we are around. Somebody's having a bath. Just a little foot sticking out. Trying to fight back with Mum. And it's nice to see just how much these cubs have relaxed with the presence of vehicles. They're much calmer than they used to be. Oh, this is so wonderful. Okay. Just going to see if they settle here or if they get up to go to the kill. We're giving them as much space as possible. Hello, little ones. Very, very clear affection there from the cubs. Ooh, 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 getting cross. They're irritating you, Karula. Sometimes you just have bad days as a mom. And I'm also, that slight snarl that she gave them tells me that it's a good idea to keep our distance from her. And Kyle, oh, absolutely, they have gotten so big. Sorry, gotten is not a word. Got so big. They have grown so big. Hey, Mom, I want to climb a tree, not have a bath. They really have. They've grown so much. Oh, oh. Sorry, I lose my mind slightly when we see these cubs. I completely forget and get distracted by how cute they are. Oh, there's a tail. You gonna hunt a tail? No, I'm just going to bat Mom in the face. Great fearsome predator. Bath time is a very tricky affair when you've got two... Oh! James Richard, you said you wanted a leopard sighting, and yet you can't think of a better one. Me neither. This is incredible. Oh, battered down. I just love how gentle she is with him, despite the fact that they must be driving her mad. Oh, tree climbing time. I think the second one's going to come and join this. Oh, not terribly coordinated, are we? I think that's the little male, and I think the little female, yes, he's noticeably bigger. Here's our brown-eyed girl. This is incredible. It doesn't get better than this, does it, Bryan? Oh, mad dash off. Ah, couldn't be happier to see this. Back up the... Oh, oh, wow. much lankier, but thinner. Oh, you can really see the size. Oopsie! Oh no! Pushed out of the tree. I'm sorry, girl. Did your brother push you over? I'm going to play with Mom's tail instead, because you're a bully. Oh, it's so comforting to see their tree climbing skills. Oh, wow. Staring up at her brother. Her brother's completely disappeared into the bush willow that he's just climbed. Come on, up you go. You can do it. There you go. And Sarah says that this is officially the cutest thing you have ever seen. I have to agree with you. This is just... When we saw them for the first few times properly, they were adorable. But at this point, they're playful. They've got little personalities developing. And I just love her eyes. She's got such gorgeous brown eyes. Oh, that tail's such a temptation. But that's quite a big jump. And my brother's all the way up in the tree. What to do? He might push me down. Oh, but I'm a cat through and through. And something twitching like that is just so distracting. Well, that was dignified. A very dignified descent. I'm a leopard. I am the master of the trees. Sort of. In a few months. She's a clever girl. Karula. No. Mom, which way are you going? It's okay, I'll lead the way. I'll lead the way until he figures out that Mom's actually gone in the opposite direction. And Shamsun, you're just saying this is the best sighting ever. I'm completely with you. Oh, she's going to take them back to the kill, and we've got a perfect view for when they follow. Shamsun, I'm afraid at some point we will have to leave. There are other vehicles coming, but I agree with you. I promise you it will be positively dragging myself away. At the moment, the other two vehicles that are interested in joining us are still quite far away. So we've probably got another 5 minutes before we have to leave. There's no point in us leaving if there's nobody to take our place and enjoy this. Yes, Karula, have some well-earned breakfast. That was incredible. At this point, there's a couple of perfect branches for her to hoist the kill into. So hopefully she'll be able to get it up out of the reach of hyenas or any lions that might come through. There we go, they're going to come join Mom after a brief batting session at each other. A little bit more elegant than her brother, I would say. Chitra, it's an absolute pleasure. You say that I've made your day. It's not me. It's her. Oops! Oh, it's okay, little one. Oh, that was almost an embarrassed runaway. Shame. Chitra, we have Herbert to thank for this, and we have Bryan to thank for bringing you the images. All I really did was just park the car and let the leopards do the work for us. But it's an absolute pleasure. I'm glad that we could bring you this incredible sighting. Little males at the back there. Poor little female. Has always been a bit more shy than her brother, and I think that that undignified descent from the tree was just too much for her to stand. She's dashed off. And Karula, no longer terribly concerned by the antics of her cubs, she's having her breakfast very much. And now it's time for her to have a little bit of food. Tax, just let me know when you're close. I'll pull out for you. Sandy, we've said that Karula has done an excellent job as a mom, although now she's concerned because kids haven't had food yet. But you were wondering, for a leopard has an exceptionally high, almost around 50 to 70% of cubs don't make it through their first year. You were wondering, what age does their survival get better, or the chances of their survival? So essentially, each and every month that they get older, the more coordinated they get, the more they play, for all of that, their chances get higher and higher and higher, until when they make it to their first year, then their chances have exponentially increased. Yes, go get your sister. She's upset now. Go find her. So cute. Sure. Okay, so the little cubs are moving away from her. I think the brother's gone off to find his sister and his playmate. And might decide to come back towards us. We'll just wait and see. Taxon is on his way, so when he gets here, then I will pull out for him and give him a chance to have a look at this incredible sighting. We can't keep it all to ourselves. And Lou Butterfrog, on the same page as I am, says, "Thank you very much, Bryan, for your fantastic camera work, as always." Thank you, Bryan.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I mean, we know that we can always rely on Bryan to get us the best possible images, and certainly we did today. Sure. I'm going to be grinning from ear to ear for the rest of the day. Oh, there's the crunching of a leopard having her breakfast. Just going to do a quick lean over, see if I can see where the cubs have gone. I think they've gone back into hiding. There's obviously a natural instinct within leopard cubs that if they're not feeding or being watched closely by mom, to actually move a little way away from a carcass like this. Because of course that is the epicenter, that's the most dangerous place for them to be. So unless they're feeding, I think they keep a bit of distance. They probably wonder about the area, get to know the different trees, know where they can run up to in terms of escaping from that area. Oh. Cool. So Andrew's on his way. He's actually pulled out, which means, believe it or not, we can actually stay for a little bit longer because Taxon can come and join us and we don't have to leave. At the moment, we are really truly enjoying the best of good fortunes. And it's only when Mike from Cheetah Plains starts to arrive, and of course him and Andrew have to do a direct swap. They can't both be in the same place at the same time. So it's only when Mike arrives, and I think he's just had to fix a flat tire, judging by his comment on the radio, so he might be a while. Well, okay then. We'll take that. We'll happily sit here and enjoy, for the moment, the Queen of Djuma having her breakfast. All accompanied to the sound of a whistling black-headed oriole. Lifting her head as if to say, should I go and get the kids, or shall I just enjoy this meal in peace for now? It was just so phenomenal to watch her go from, and we know that she hunted this impala at some point, then to go crunching the meat and then playing with her cubs, those enormous, scary-looking teeth, just gently clamping around them, and then back to crunching on bones. You get such a contrast when you watch a female leopard with her cubs in terms of their behavior. And she's really tucking in now. The tiredness from the hunt is now past. She's made sure her cubs are okay. And she definitely, now that I've seen her walk around, she hasn't had much chance to snack on this impala. I wonder if this is a male or a female impala. It's impossible to tell from this distance. She's been, I mean, of all of the kills that we've seen her on over the last few weeks, each and every single one has been an impala, which is to be expected because they're so distracted with their rutting season at the moment. I also think she's tackling larger kills in order to feed both herself and two growing cubs. I keep doing a scan just to see whether or not the cubs are on their way back, or if I think that they've probably gone to sleep somewhere in the bush. All that growing and playing can be exhausting at times. Wasn't it absolutely incredible to see those instincts starting to kick in? First of all, their tree climbing, which as with all leopard cubs, needs a bit of practice, needs a bit of work. But particularly the descent. I think the descent sometimes the adult leopards struggle with. So I think cubs can't be blamed for their tumbling. We're right next to Treehouse Dam, which is why I think she keeps looking up in that direction. Because I think there's quite a few animals. We saw a warthog earlier move past. There's probably impala and kudu walking around there as well. And her exceptionally keen senses are picking up movement. So every now and again she just lifts her head to make sure that it's not something like a hyena sneaking up on her. It's amazing how much she's loving this area. Oh, Tammy, you were saying that you feel completely and utterly in love with those cubs while you watch them play. And I have to admit, I don't think Bryan or myself are terribly impervious to their charms either. It's quite hard not to be. You were wondering whether or not we've had a meeting about naming them. It was discussed in a rangers meeting not too long ago. We brought it up and we put it forward to the guides that we asked if we, not that we named them, but that if we could bring the naming process forward. So generally we only name cubs after about a year because of the high mortality rate. But at this point, because we've got so many people watching around the world, and these leopard cubs are probably some of the most famous in the world. So we asked if we could bring that naming process forward a little bit, and the agreement was yes. So the next Rangers meeting is when we shall be tabling the various suggestions for names. It will be, there's a discussion and a debate about how we're going to do this, but it looks as though we're going to put forward names. Each and every lodge that sees and knows Karula will put forward the names for the two cubs, and it will then be voted upon. But they had to be old enough. It had to be old enough for the cubs for us to know their sex and for us to know their characters a little bit. Sorry guys, just Game Drive channel. So Taxon making his way in, coming to join us. And you can see why, because it is so close to the road and it is very open in this area, why the decision was made by the head guide to allow 2 vehicles into this area. Tax, you can make your way. You'll get my visual from the road. I'm sure there's just more impala or kudu moving about there. There's a gentle breeze that is wafting the smell of the carcass towards us. I have to confess it smells a great deal nicer than Nigel the Inyala. Nigel the Inyala is currently sitting on our roof back at camp. Hopefully Nigel the Inyala doesn't stay on the roof at our camp, but that is where Nigel the Inyala is. For those of you who missed the sunset safari, poor Bryan had to deal with a Nyala carcass on the back of the vehicle with him, just behind him on the spare tire. I hope James didn't stop or reverse at any point, Bryan, after that. Many times. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Because we wanted Nigel, or James wanted Nigel to join us in the tent for our television setup. And it will be fascinating, but at the moment Nigel the Inyala is somewhat pungent and he's bony, but with a healthy padding of some rotting meat sticking around the edges.
The worst dog breath you could imagine. That's what he smells like.
The worst dog breath in the world. It is pretty stinky. Anyway, Nigel's sitting on the roof. I think I feel sorry for Connor the most. I think he's got his room's quite close to Nigel. We'll need to make a plan with old Nige. Okay, I think... Oh, apparently Connor's just learned this. Connor has just learnt of this situation. He's sitting in final control and his head shot up and he exclaimed in confusion, "Sorry, Connor, there's an Inyala outside your bedroom." Oh, the strange things we go through. But my point of that entire conversation was that I can smell the carcass despite her covering effects. However, it definitely smells far nicer. A fresh kill doesn't stink very much at all. It just smells a bit grassy. And I've just been thinking about that, Linda. You were wondering about a good tree to put the carcass in once she's eaten a bit and it's a bit lighter. Yes, there is a marula tree less than, I would say, less than 10 meters, so less than 30 feet from where she is. The tree at the back, it's a bit of a harsh start. She'll have to jump and pull up because she's got a good 3 meters to jump with the carcass in her mouth before she'll get it up there, and then she'll be able to wander it up into a more comfortable branch from there. So yes, there is a perfect hoisting tree. The question is, will she be able to eat enough of it now that it won't be too heavy for her a bit later? I need to just talk to Tax, but unfortunately there's a conversation happening. Tax, she's right there under that young jackalberry on your left. Now, while the Queen of Juma feeds and her cubs rest up in the shade, well, at least rest up underneath the bushes, let's head over to Brent and some elephants.
So Wium and I are sitting with the young male elephant, and he's just crossed into cheetah plains. But the reason we've been sitting so calmly and quietly right here is that we know the Sticks cubs and a Birmingham boy are just down the road and off to the left there. We just watched a warthog run almost straight to where the lions are supposed to be. So we're hoping they're going to come out onto the road, but we've got this wonderful Ellie while we're here. Nice young bull, early 20s, and he's been sort of meandering around us for the past half an hour. Oh. Oopsie. I thought he might try to push that whole marula down. He's decided not to. Hello, mister. He's going to have a scratch against it instead. So we can hear a big breeding herd in the distance, but these young bulls are normally on the peripheries of the breeding herds. At this age, their testosterone levels can cause a bit of havoc as they chase each other around and play fight. Okay. Feeding on some monkey orange. And scratching his bum upon the marula tree at the same time. Multitasking. This Ellie. Oh, lion, Vin. There we go, what we've been waiting for. Now, will the cubs come out with her? Okay, so we just got to really hope she calls to the cubs or they decide to come have a drink. So the cubs are there. So isn't this wonderful? Lion and elephant in the same sighting. So there is a possibility that those cubs will come out to greet her. And we know it's a long distance visual, but to see some little lion cubs, it's definitely worth the risk and the wait. So we've been sitting here not moving for quite a while, waiting for a lion to step into the road, and finally one has. So there is a Birmingham, I think three Sticks lionesses, but I'm not sure how many cubs. I haven't been able to hear on the radio. But if all three females are there, The slightly older cubs are more than likely to be there. Look, she's doing the Fleming grimace. Kyle says, oh boy, are we going to get lion and leopard cubs in the same day? Well, Kyle, that's the plan. And that's why Wium and I have been playing the patience game. It hasn't worked for us over the last few days, has it, Wium?
Not really.
Not really. So we deserve a little bit of luck. And wouldn't it be awesome to get those little sticks cubs coming out to greet a mom or an aunt? So they're lying where she's looking, just inside Mala Mala. Come on, cubs. Come on, cubs. And if we do manage to get the cubs, it could be the first lion and leopard cubs in the morning we've ever had since I've been here. Speaking of leopard cubs and Karula the queen, let's go see what's happening with Jamie.
Okay guys, the last view of Queen Karula. We do have to leave the sighting mic is right here. So we're going to say goodbye for her to now, but that's okay because you've got the prospect of lions plus lion cubs. So on that note, back across to Brent.
So here we are, we're still playing the patience game with the sticks lions. We've still got a lovely Ellie and to our right. So we've got 2 members of Africa's Big Five in sight at one time. My personal record is I've had all 5 in a sighting at one time, more than once, believe it or not. So isn't that incredible? All 5 members of Africa's Big Five, and it was during a drought and all around a waterhole and all watching each other. So we can have a look at Ellie. Let me just move back or forward actually, so it's better. And while we watch that Ellie, I'm going to keep an eye on that lioness who's down in the distance there. How's that, Wium? A bit more. A little bit back. So I'm going to be keeping an eye out on that lioness in the road as well as the Ellie. So unfortunately she is just beyond the edge of Cheetah Plains Traverse, and we have been coming to this southwestern corner on numerous occasions for the small hope of seeing the sticks cubs, and this is the best chance we've had. Now it sounds like there's some more elephants just down here, and I'm pretty sure this boy is attached to them. I can't see them, I can just hear them. Can you see one, Wium? Wium can't see them either. So there she is. Look at that big belly. You can see the suckle marks even at this distance. So Ellen in North Dakota is saying, well, elephants and lion cubs are probably not a good idea together. They're not, and actually some of the more humorous sightings I've had with those 2 species have been with cubs, and elephants chasing and cubs disappearing in all directions. But an elephant would, if it caught, they don't normally catch. Oh no, it's a great go-away bird. I just saw a bird flying in. I thought it was a bird of prey, but it's not. But yes, no, the elephants would chase the lions, and they might get quite upset because there's a carcass there. I think there's a buffalo kill from what I could hear. So they would chase the lions, but the lions would come back. And one must remember that these animals encounter each other constantly on a daily basis without us there. So they have ways and means to avoid being squashed by an Ellie. Wium's going to look at the Ellie. He's munching away on some, what's it look like there? Oh, a little green thorn. Can hear the go-away bird now. And now, during normal years, we don't see elephants feed on green thorns outside of the dry season too much. And even during the dry season, definitely not one of their preferred food species. And we'll be noticing the elephants having a far more varied diet with this drought in terms of which trees they feed off. I mean, we've already seen them feed off monkey orange and a green thorn, which both are not the most common trees for ellies to feed off if they have a choice. And he looks very happy, this young ellie bull. Doesn't seem too worried about the drought. Let's see. And when he flaps his ears, and from behind it's, oh, look, he's going to push that green thorn. It's a small one. Will he push it all the way down? Oh, he's getting it going. Did he give up? He might try again. Well, the wind's changed slightly. I wonder if he picked up the scent of that carcass and the lions a little bit down the road. Maybe that's what made him put his trunk up. The wind's coming straight from where those lions are towards where we are. So, while we're watching that, Ellie, don't worry, Wium and I are both glancing down the track to make sure we're not going to miss any lion cubs. The moment the lioness has gone very flat. And he's moving on to another small green thorn now. Let's just reverse a bit. Oh, there we go. Hello, mister. How's that, Wium? That'll work. Oh, and now on to the third species we've seen him feed on, and it's a red bush willow. So you can see how varied his diet can be. I think he's going to feed off even more. I think he might go for 4 species while we watch him. Let's have a roll forward. Oh, we're not going to roll. Back is better. So when, Wium? Let's see, there's a bigger gap coming up through that little... Oh, he's going to keep moving there. Keep us on our toes. So, here we go. He's already swapped again. He's now eating another little monkey orange. And he hasn't gone for the round leaf teak yet, which is quite surprising. They're normally very big fans of round leaf teak. Back to the bush willow. So he's just in a very awkward little spot for us there. There we go, that's better. But now he's going to walk through it. Of course he is. There you go, you can see that incredible foot of an elephant. You can see his nails there. Now they've got such specially designed feet to be able to carry that weight. And you can see their front feet are actually bigger than their back feet. And that's to carry that massive bulk of their heads. And you can see a slightly different shape in the feet as well from front to back. And the front being sort of more conical, so a wider surface area. You can see it comes out at the angle there. Now, an elephant, if you had to look inside an elephant's foot, it almost looks like they're on tippy toes. There we go. You see that straight back foot there on the back foot. That the back doesn't carry as much weight as the front, and it basically looks like an elephant, if you had to look at the bone structure, is standing on tiptoes. But in between those tiptoes is a massive cartilaginous sponge that is a nice shock absorber for that incredible weight they have to carry. Okay, let's go back forward a little bit. I don't think I've seen any cubs, but they are quite far away, moving from the south through to the north. And we'll stop right as far as we can go on this little line. Okay. Now, speaking of lion cubs, Justin's wondering, would a bird of prey ever go for a lion cub? When they're very small, yes, it is possible, Justin, but normally at that age they are very well hidden in dens. As we can see, a fat belly and a female. Unfortunately, no cubbies just yet, but they might get thirsty. So it'd have to be quite a large bird of prey as well, Justin. So martial eagle might just take a chance. But generally, once the lion cubs are sort of out and mobile and around, they're not going to risk, or they're a bit too big for a bird of prey to risk. And speaking of birds of prey, flying above the lion, I'm quite certain it's spotted that carcass, but it's also spotted the lion, so unlikely to plummet down is a batelier. Flew directly over the carcass. Sure, it's well aware it's there, but it's not worth the risk with the lion still being on sight. And that's Lioness very flat. I need to go spend a bit more time with the Ellie, and then we'll definitely come check here again. A very, very fun question from Boyd. Boyd would like to know, if I could make a small five, which animals would I pick? Of course, there is a small five already, but I think what Boyd's referring to is my favorite 5 small creatures. And the known small 5 is the elephant shrew, the lion, the red bull, the buffalo, and the rhinoceros beetle. Those are the known small 5, but if I had to pick a small 5, I'm going to have to think about it for a little bit, Boyd. Let's just have a look at this wonderful Ellie, who is now onto his 6th tree species since we've been here. So he's feeding off a little greenthorn again, but he was also feeding off a zebra wood. So you can see how varied his diet is. Now, look at that. You can see into his mouth. You can actually see the leaves in his mouth. Don't get self-conscious now, boy. Yeah. He's just on the other side of this zebra wood from us, munching on a green thorn. And he's just stopped to listen to us. Now he's decided we're not too much of a problem. There you can actually see him chewing on the leaves. Amazing. Incredible. We're so lucky to have elephants that are this relaxed around the vehicles. I've worked in parts of Africa where they sprint at the sight of a car. And look at this, we're no more than 6 foot from this guy. Look at that. So Melissa is wondering, what is my closest call with an animal while on drive. Well, we've had very close sightings with lots of different animals, but I haven't really had a close call on drive at SafariLIVE. We had a bit of an interesting incident with a hippo a while ago, but that was while we were off air. I mean, we've had some situations where we've had elephants that might have possibly become a problem, but we're quite lucky in the fact that all our safari guides are really experienced, and we're able to stop those situations before they happen. Now, strangely enough, just a slight tapping on the side of the vehicle, a shout, is enough to stop a lot of problems. Hello, mister. And you can see he is completely nonplussed with us. He's sniffing the ground as he walks, might be looking for the rest of a herd. Sniffy, sniffy. Well, while he sniffy, sniffies, I think we should just have a quick look back at those lions in case the cubs have had to have popped out. Oh. So for the second day in a row, oh, I think that zebra just smelt a lion. Let's just go a bit forward and just started running across. But, I mean, we've got elephant, lion, we've just seen a zebra, and a warthog a little bit earlier while we've been haven't moved 20 meters. There's the zebra. Avoiding where the lions are, of course. I think they're actually probably on their way towards 3 in a row pan, or towards the pan in front of the Cheetah Plains Lodge, with the lack of water around. The zebra is one of the species that we're going to be seeing a lot more of as we head further into the drought, as they move off the gabbro grazing to the south, north and east and move towards where there's water. And let's have a look. I can't see a cub just yet. I just see a fat belly. So while we sit here and play the patience game to try and get the first ever SafariLIVE visual of the new Styx lion cubs, let's go see what Jamie's been up to.
What an incredible morning this has been. If you want to know what I've been doing, I've been grinning from ear to ear since we left that sighting, and I think Bryan's feeling much the same. Really doesn't get any better than that, and I'm sorry because I'm pretty sure that my brain deserted me completely during that sighting. It was just so incredible that it left us pretty much without speech, and I just had to have a good chuckle at those cubs tumbling out of the tree, falling over each other. It doesn't get better than that. And that is what the joy of these live safaris is you set out in the morning without the faintest clue as to what you're going to see, and everything just changes all of a sudden. I mean, we were on our way to Arathusa. That's what we were going to do before Herbert called me. I think that we'll have to figure out a big thank you to say to Herbert. Marianne's described it as a cub buzz. Marianne's watching in Boston and says she's going to have cub buzz for the rest of the day. Yep, me too. Me too, possibly for the rest of the week. And you know what? You might even get cub buzz overload if Brent does get to see those lion cubs. I'm so excited for that prospect as well. Ah, what a pleasure today has been. I don't even know where I'm going now. Just I'm just driving, just going on instinct. No, that's not true, actually. I'm looking for hyena tracks. I'm going to see if I can't figure out where these hyenas have gone. I'm really hoping. There's a couple around the old den site, but I don't think enough to indicate that they've moved there. The old den site on Zoe's Road, which I've never seen them inhabit before. And I don't know why, because it's actually a really nice spot. It's a little baby Dacre, but unfortunately it was very much on the move away from us. Phew. The day is warmed up, the skies are clearing, there have been cubs. We've got the prospect of lion cubs on our property. We just have to wait, of course, for her to show them to us rather than the other way around. We might even get to see them on the Djuma Dam camera. Doesn't really get any better than this. Now what will be... Oh, my goodness, the elephants have been very busy. Which way round do we want to go? Do we want to go into the monkey orange? Or do we want to go into the bush willows? I feel as though the answer is bush willows. Always. You can avoid driving through monkey orange. My advice, if you ever find yourself having to make this decision, is to take the path away from it. The elephants have been seriously targeting the trees at the moment. So many trees in the road. Bush willow's been bashed about and annihilated. This tree could well, if this tree hadn't been pushed into the road, it would quite likely survive. Its root system's still intact. The main stem is intact. It's just been pushed slightly skew. Well, there we go. So it could actually survive. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be cut away from the road. We can't just make a new road around it. We've got the lioness denning around the waterhole, around the Djuma waterhole. And Justin, you were wondering how many waterholes are there on this reserve? Within our traverse area, let's just do a quick count. Arathusa Dam, Red Dam, both have water. That's it on Arathusa. Djuma Dam, Vuyatela Dam and Galago Pan have water on Djuma, as well as Buffelshoek Dam for now. So that's 5 there. And then Cheetah Plains, there's 3 dams. So we've got 8 in total in our traverse area. For our entire game reserve, Justin, I couldn't begin to tell you because I don't know the other properties very well. I'm unfamiliar with them. And of course, within the Sabi Sands itself, it's not just the dams. The northern Sabi Sands has dams, but the southern areas have rivers as well. And Sabi and sand rivers that flow pretty much all year round. And if we expand that even further, because of course we're in an unfenced area, we've now got the whole of the Kruger National Park and all of its various water holes, drainage lines, so river systems that have dried up, active rivers, flowing rivers. It would be impossible for me to be able to tell you. Djuma, oh, and Sydney's Dam, sorry. Sydney's Dam has still got plenty of water. That's not quite in our traverse area, but it's close enough for us to view the animals that come to drink there. Treehouse Dam is dry, Twin Dams is dry. Those are both dams on Djuma itself, but didn't have enough rain to fill them up. Sure. It's suddenly very warm. The sun's coming out nicely. And the clearings of Impala Plains devoid of animals. Where are they all hiding this morning? Not, of course, that we can complain. You can see this cold front is now gone. The sun is starting to break through. And the day is warming up. Oh, sorry, I'm attached. I'm trying to do this whilst driving. Okay, you know what, JD? Let's just be sensible, because I'm not being very coordinated here and I'm about to drive right off the road. Let's just do this properly. Oh no, I'm stuck. Okay. There we go. I'm all cabled in. It's not me being completely uncoordinated. There we go. Onwards. It's amazing how yesterday morning on the sunrise safari, you couldn't turn a corner without bumping into an elephant herd. And today, completely quiet. There's no elephants. There's tracks all over the show, but there's no elephants about. Oh, this is yesterday where we left the one Birmingham boy. And apparently Mike saw him last night after the end of the sunset safari, crossing south towards and into Chitwa. No, sorry, wrong property, Little Gowrie, that he crossed south into, so very close to where Karula has her kill. The Birmingham boys have got their work cut out for them at the moment. They've got an enormous territory to patrol. They've got several sets of cubs blossoming about in the different areas. And now they have to do, now is where they prove their worth as a coalition. They covered the first stage very easily. They chased the Matimbas out. They terrorized the Lionesses for a little while and then started mating with them as part of the peace deal that they brokered. But now the real work sets in, because now they have to guard those cubs, and that means their territory very, very closely to keep them safe and away from harm's way. And of course, most importantly, to keep other young males out of the area. And that includes, sadly for us, but that includes Junior and his newfound friend. We still have yet to find out where his newfound friend comes from. But he does, it seems as though Junior does have a potential coalition forming. Junior is an exceptionally large lion. He has the Matimba genes flowing through him, and he shows it clearly. He's bigger, even though he's younger. I think he's bigger than each and every individual Birmingham boy. Speaking of lions, while we continue along the western boundary, back to Brent and a very sleepy lioness.
Oh, we got some movement there. Unfortunately, no sign of those little cubbies just yet. And from what we could hear, it sounds like they're still feeding on the carcass. And so maybe James will have better luck than us on the sunset safari. And we're going to stay another minute or two and see what happens. I really, really want to see the little babies. And really would love you guys to have leopard and lion cubs in a morning. Now, as you can see, those engorged nipples on that rotund belly of that very full Styx lioness. Justin's wondering, at what age are they weaned? And what does their diet consist of? After that, well, they're meat, and more meat is the answer to that. I mean, they will start feeding on meat from as young as a month and a half. But they're normally fully weaned by about 6 months, sometimes a bit younger, sometimes a bit older, depending on how many lactating lionesses there are in a pride. But normally, you can say 4 to 6 months is weaning age. Oh, we're going to roll over. Thinking about it. And over we go. I'm afraid I think that's about the most action we're going to see from that fat Styx lioness. Unless the cubs arrive, which I've got unfortunate sneaky suspicion they're not going to. I think they're too busy getting stuck into that buffalo carcass. So let's leave these lions and start meandering back towards the north. Probably go, as we reverse, I'm going to just look back and sort of focus a lion cub across the road, but I don't think it's going to work today. Well, finally, the patience game sort of paid off for us today. We did get a lion eventually, but quite recently we had an elephant, a warthog, and zebra all while sitting in one spot. And yesterday, while we were playing the patience game, we didn't get the cat, but we had kudu, warthog, and impala all in the same spot. We can only hope that these Sticks girls are going to start bringing those cubs further and further away now that they're a bit older, and we might get a chance to see them on cheetah plains in this area, or possibly even further to the east. So, now that we've left the lines and we're not so focused on other things, Boyd is wondering about the little 5. My little 5, my personal little 5.
That's mine.
Vim's got his. Let's see if Vim's and ours are quite similar. Mine would be Serval.
Yeah.
Serval's and Vim's. Caracal.
Yes.
African Wildcats. Okay, African Wildcats not in Vim's. Or mine would be a striped polecat, which is a black and white sort of our version of a skunk. And number 5 is a difficult one. Pangolin. That would wrap up my 5. So Wium and I had 2 cats the same. What's the rest, Wium?
Warthog, number 3.
Warthog?
Yes, warthog.
Warthog makes Wium's little 5. I'm quite surprised at that.
Steenbok.
Steenbok?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how about bushveld gerbil?
And a bushveld gerbil. There we go. Wium changing it up a little bit. And those interesting mammal species, those small carnivores and that, are really, really fascinating. And I think you could almost make a little 10 just on small carnivore species. So you got serval, caracal, jackal, 2 species, jackal side-striped, and black-backed, African wildcat, genet, civet, white-tailed mongoose. So just on the little carnivores, I think you make a little 10. Also, always a good area to look for leopard tracks around here. I haven't actually seen a leopard in this part of Cheetah Plains yet, but the day will come. So James Richard was jackal, serval, honey badger, caracal, and pangolin are his little 5. So it's amazing how everyone will have a slightly different one depending on what they really want to see or not. And it is quite fun to sort of play this game. So as I think a lot of our viewers who've been with us for a while will know, I've got a carnivore challenge that I've set myself, and that is to show different carnivores on the live drives. There's a possible 20-odd species, or 23 or 24-odd species, but I think realistically we're only going to get maybe 20 of those here. So, and on the challenge is to put them live on camera. And we'll start with the smallest, which we have got done and dusted, a dwarf mongoose. Move a little bit bigger. Slender mongoose we've got. White-tailed mongoose we've got. Banded mongoose I haven't got on camera yet. I've seen them, but it doesn't count unless they're on camera. No, you had them I haven't. I see. So we're on 3. And we move a little bit bigger. Civet we've got on camera, African civet. Both species of genet we've got on camera, that's 6. And remember 7 plus the mongoose we haven't got yet. And so we've got both species of genet. Serval we've got on camera. Oh, hello zebras. I think it's the same 2. Oh, look at that. Wound on the front one. We'll carry on with that shortly. I just want to have a quick closer look at this wound on this young male zebra. I'm pretty sure it's not from a... And we can be pretty certain it's from another zebra, just judging from where the wound is. And there it is on his front left That looks like a possible bite. It'll be very sore, looking quite infected as well, but he's not walking too badly. And these animals have incredible resilience. We think they are going to expire quickly, but then they just seem to recover. So where were we now? Oh, now I've got to think again. So we did that we've got on camera so far: dwarf mongoose, slender mongoose, white-tailed mongoose. We did genets, 2 species, civet, honey badger, both species of jackal. So on 9, we're not doing too badly. That's just the little ones. Serval, 10, and then obviously the more obvious ones: wild dog, 11, and lion, leopard, and cheetah. Puts us at 14. Are we missing? It was Jamie who had the African wildcat. I haven't had African wildcat yet. So that puts us at 14. So what we're missing out of the possible little carnivores, or the carnivore family that occur here, is water mongoose is another mongoose we're missing. Banded mongoose for me personally to put on camera. And caracal. Brown hyena is a possibility. Oh, I forgot hyena. We're on 15. So we are spotted hyena 15. Hyena. Striped polecat. What else are we thinking? Carnivore that we're missing. So that would put 20. So there are other species that are very, very, very unlikely. They theoretically occur in this area, but we're very unlikely to see them, such as an otter. Now, if you were down on the Sand River, Cape Clawless otter would definitely be a strong possibility. We might get an otter. And aardwolf, which is part of the hyena family, but it feeds off termites. And according to the information I found, Lex Hess says the only aardwolf he's ever heard about being seen in the sands was in the 1970s. So it's a possibility, but a very unlikely one. Selous mongoose. Again, I've never heard of them ever being recorded in the Sabi Sands, but they theoretically could occur here. I know they occur north, from Punta Maria north, but I've never heard of them this far south. Wium, can you think of anything else that we're missing? There's about 5 that are probable. There's another now 7 in total, with the sort of near impossible. Just trying to think. Carnivores. Well, if you think the what?
Mammal carnivores.
Mammalian carnivores, yes. Kathleen said I hadn't mentioned honey badger. I had. Honey badger is part of the 15 we have got on camera. And so I'm just in my head trying to go through the sort of different families of carnivores. So Felidae, I think we got covered, because it's lion, leopard, cheetah, African wildcat, serval, caracal. That's our 6 Felidaes that can possibly occur in this area. The black-footed cat does occur in southern Africa, but nowhere near here. Up on the more arid western and central parts, and even a little bit south. So that is the 7th member of Felidae that occurs naturally here. And if we go, I do remember the other one. The other one is the zorilla, which is also a type of weasel polecat, which is part of the Viviridae family. Which Viviridae is mongooses and all civets and all that lot. So Canis we got covered. Both species of jackal and wild dog. The Canis family is covered. Viviridae, I think we've covered all the Viviridaes that might occur here. Melora we've covered, that's the honey badger. Hyenidae we've covered. I think that's about it. Oh, and otters we've covered. So 15, there's 20 that are likely, and about 23 or 24 that are possible but highly improbable. So 15 out of the 20, it's not too bad so far. I think the only one that's been seen by current presenters that we haven't managed to get on camera is the African wildcat. But while we try find a new little carnivore, let's
Well, I was going to discuss some of my favorite little carnivores and such things, but it seems as though Brent has given you a really thorough taxonomic summary of each and every animal that may ever have existed in Africa, from what I could hear. So, just in case you were wondering, my favorite tiny five, and I've been giving it some thought. Wait, now I've forgotten the conclusion I came to. It's been that we started thinking about it when Brent started the subject, so I've already lost it. Blue Duiker, one of my favorites, honey badger, caracal, jackal, and bat-eared foxes. I really enjoy bat-eared foxes, or if they were sleeping, we used to call them flat-eared boxers. These tiny little animals, we don't get them here, little members of the canid family that live in family groups, kind of like jackal, but a bit smaller and with these enormous oversized ears. Those, I think, are my favorite of the tiny five, but that might change depending on when you ask me, and perhaps it might even be different if you asked me tomorrow. Bryan also included the warthog on his tiny five. Yep.
Warthog, genet, aardvark. I enjoy an aardvark.
I wouldn't know. Does that five? Warthog, genet, aardvark.
Two others that I really enjoy.
It's a difficult one. Did I say honey badger?
You did.
I did say honey badgers.
Incredible.
Honey badgers are amazing.
Yeah, I'd have to think about the last one.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even think about a bush baby.
Yeah, they're okay, bush babies.
Bush babies are okay, but I feel as though the poor cameramen have, when they see us stop for a bush baby, you can just, oh no, here we go. The smallest, fastest moving creature in the bushveld. Well, we'll let Bryan give some thought to his fifth and final tiny five. It's a difficult question. It's like trying to say, what's your favorite animal?
I would say maybe actually a meerkat.
A meerkat! That's a really good answer. 'Cause Bryan, of course, used to work in the Kalahari filming meerkats day after day, and I bet you got to know them pretty well. Yeah. So there you go. Bryan's fifth and final is a meerkat, which also happens to be my brother's, or used to be my brother's favorite animal when he was a kid. I don't know whether or not that's changed, but that was his favorite animal when he was little. All discussion points, but unfortunately not borne out by sightings towards the end of our sunrise safari. It's gone very, very quiet out here. I think the animals all hiding away after this strange cold front that we had. Not that we can complain about sightings at all. We had one of the most... In fact, that was probably... I've had some really nice leopard cub sightings in my life. That was probably one of the best leopard cub sightings I have ever had. It was just stunning. There we go, there's one of my favorite little animals. In fact, I can't believe I missed them off my list. I'm going to go forward a little bit as they sprint. Well done, Bryan. The dwarf mongoose. Ooh, would I kick one of the other animals off my list for a dwarf mongoose? I'm not sure. I do really enjoy them. I could sit and watch dwarf mongoose all day. I'd be more than happy to. They're just so intriguing. These tiny little creatures with so much going on in their lives. All the intrigue and drama, and of course the smallest predator, carnivore, that we get out here. Bouncing around. Just watching them, they're always, even when they're sunbathing and basking outside of their burrows, they're just always busy doing something, whether it's grooming each other or looking about alertly. They're highly, highly entertaining little creatures. scuffling around. And you can even hear, listen carefully, a fork-tailed drongo chirping away in the background. Doing his wide range of imitating different sounds. Now, since our dwarf mongoose are playing quite shy at the moment, most of them dashing about quite far away from the car, I hear that there is a new, not a new, but a return visitor to the Djuma Pan. I actually didn't even realize it was around there, but apparently the hippo is back and grazing out of the water, and I think that we should go and investigate. Let's see and enjoy the last few moments. It's not often that we get to see, although we are more and more as we're going into winter, but we don't often get to sit with the hippos out of water and spend a bit of time with them. And as a result, I don't think that it's that easy to convey a sense of scale as to just how absolutely enormous those animals really are. Now let's go and have a look quickly before we come to the end of the sunrise safari. We're not far away at all. We can go and say hello. We're in the house that we live in. We've started being, and as well as the DRC, started being exceptionally careful in terms of shutting the gate. Now we're getting to that point again. We were there at the beginning of the year, and we're getting to that point now that it's so dry, the animals are coming into the camps themselves in order to feed. And for us especially, we have a swimming pool in the garden. We have to be particularly careful with the hippos because, of course, that holds an enormous attraction for them. And once that hippo climbs into the swimming pool, if he doesn't injure himself walking across the wooden deck, it's going to be a serious issue. So we're being exceptionally careful now, making sure that our gate is closed. And we're going to see it more often. And the hippos are also, they've actually made life quite scary at the moment when you're out tracking because it's a bit cooler and because they have to cover more ground in order to meet their nutritional needs. They're in the weirdest places. You'll go tracking and all of a sudden there'll be a hippo there, and it's quite the shock and surprise. You don't expect them to be around, but they are. And I've noticed that around Buffelshoek Dam especially. And he's not, I wouldn't call him a gentle-tempered hippo. He's quite on edge, as they all are. Okay. Let's go and say hello. Ooh. Apparently he is just below the dam. I'll go and see exactly where he is. He must be in that dip. Oh, there he is. Oh, I thought I saw him, but that's not him. That is a buffalo. That's a buffalo having a drink. A couple of Duggar boys. There's our hippo. Go and see who we've got. Approaching with caution. Nice and slowly. We know that hippos don't feel comfortable when they're outside of the water. It's outside of their comfort zone. And I don't want to scare him. I'll just give him plenty of space. And I think the buffalo are probably quite grateful that he's given them a reprieve to go and have a drink. Although the hippos are quite good at sharing the space of their dam. Just gonna go, there we go. That's where he is. Shame, looks like he's got a bit of a limp. No boy. There we go. He does have a slight limp. We're not going to go any closer. We'll scare him if we do. They're difficult for you to get a perspective of just how large they are. From what I can see, Just judging by his size, that looks like it is a bull. It can be trickier with hippo, particularly young males, to gauge exactly how or what gender they are. The males have much broader faces, they're much larger. Their testicles are internal, so you can't look in that sense. But you can, if you look carefully on a male hippo, just see the penis sheath at the back. I think this is a bull. Off he goes to find fresh grazing ground, and as you can see, not really all that much for a hungry hippo to eat. Shame. Feel for the hippos especially. Now he might look like he's moving slowly, but important to remember that a hippo, despite appearances, can move incredibly quickly, faster than a human can sprint, unless you are very, very fast. And there we go, an old buffalo bull, so enjoying some time at the pan. As always, accompanied by a cohort of oxpeckers. And this is a really old buffalo. Just having a look at him with his bald patches all over his face. Skin or fur starting to thin along his back, those deep notches in his horns. All of that points towards a relatively old buffalo bull. Sure, looking tatty boy. He's doing well though. He's in good condition. Quite bulky, not too thin, despite the lack of grass at the moment. It's a face that looks as though it's seen some scary things in its time. It looks a bit like a gangster, in a way. Trying to decide whether he's done having a drink or if he's going to wallow in the pan. Well, what an incredible sunrise safari it has been. I'm still going to grin from ear to ear when I get back to camp. I think Bryan's going to feel the same. And I'm so glad that we got to share that moment with all of you. Well, a big thank you to the lovely ladies in Final Control, to Kirsty and to Jerry. It's wonderful to see you. Give a quick wave to the Juba Dam camera. And a big thank you to Bryan for all of his fantastic camera work. I'm so glad we got to enjoy that sighting together. And it's become a pattern. It's become a thing that we've got going on with Karula and her leopard cubs. And thank you most especially to all of you for joining us. We'll catch you this afternoon for the sunset safari, hopefully heading back to Karula with her meal still intact. And fingers crossed away from any of the scavenging predators. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.
What an exciting sunrise safari. See, one of the joys about doing what we do is we don't really know what the Monday blues are. So this is Monday morning work for us. Lions, leopard and cubs, how exciting. And hopefully she's going to be there on the sunset safari. Actually, I'm quite sure she will. And a big thanks to Herbert, who managed to track and find her on foot. And hopefully those Styx cubs will make an appearance at some point soon. And on this evening's sunset safari, you're going to be with the J&J, James and Jamie. And hopefully they entertain you thoroughly. From Wium and myself, it's been splendid having you on the back of the vehicle. We have really enjoyed it. And isn't exciting? Only a few short hours till you can join the SafariLIVE team again on another adventure in the African bush. So hopefully leopards and lions abound. So from Wium and myself, toodaloo!